everyone. Coach Sullivan here again with MGS Coaching Football. To my subscribers, I thank you, and to non-subscribers, I really hope I can tease you into pushing that button. Completed my 38th year coaching football. I was a defensive coordinator, but over that time, I've also been an offensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, longtime head coach, and all of this at both the collegiate and high school levels. In this presentation, I want to talk to you about in our match quarters, base grade 4, how we defend against what we call Ohio, the double out concept. Okay, it's not a full-fledged flood, although if it's a sprint out, it would be considered a full-fledged flood concept. But typically to us, a flood is 3 levels. Ohio is only 2 levels. Okay, so there's a difference. It's not even it's a big difference, okay, to answer that question. All right, so I'm going to show it to you versus 11 personnel out of our base concept. So non-subscribers, you have to push the button. And the reason I'm doing that is so you can see the technique difference with an attached outside linebacker on a tight end and a detached outside linebacker who's more in space. Okay? And so after I go through the key terms as it would relate to how we defend Ohio, the double out concept in our base match quarters, then I'll draw it up for you over here. Okay? All right, so the first key term is surface. Everything begins with the surface. So to us, what the surface is the offensive line. So tackle, guard, center, guard, tackle, offensive line. The entire secondary, inside, outside linebackers, D-line, all reading and reacting to the surface, the offensive line, okay? When there is a tight end, the tight end becomes a part of the surface. So to these defenders, the tight end's a part of the surface, not these defenders. Okay, so you see how that plays out. So for this presentation, the surface is showing hi-hat pass set, okay? Because everything starts with surface to 2, right? Non-subscribers? So here, this will signify that the surface or the offensive line is pass setting, hi-hat. Whether it's hard or soft set, okay, hi-hat. So then number 2 term here is read number 2 tells you what to do, right? Read number 2 tells you what to do. I know there are programs that call this PALMS coverage, right? Reading and reacting off of number 2. We use colors in our coverage system. Gray is our quarters. And when we tag a number onto it, it becomes match quarters. So gray 4, as you'll see, there are 4 defenders reading number 2 on their side. So in this case, number 2 is doing an out 10 yards or deeper. So number 2 is doing the deep out. Okay, in the double out concept, 2 is doing the deeper out. So we'll show you how we defend that. So number 3, this is a double out concept, and as I started at the beginning, if it's a spread out, yeah, you could call it a 2-man flood concept, but again, to us, a flood, which we call Mississippi, is a 3-level concept, so therefore there are 3 receivers, and that usually is a sprint out that we see to the big field or we see into the boundary in 2-minute situations, right, trying to get the ball out of bounds. Okay, well, this also could be a 2-minute situation, ball in the hash, right? They're in a 4-minute mode maybe rather than a 2-minute mode, okay, as far as tempo is concerned. So then number 4 is our detached outside linebacker. So he's the one who's more in space. And so he will, again, surface. He will expand as he reads off of number 2. He will balance up when he sees what 1's doing. Hint, hint. And then it's either running back 2 or crosser, and then he will also hear the word Ohio, 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 and then he will cut 1. So the cutting of 1 will be fairly late unless he reads and sees that early, depending on if it's a speed cut or if it's, if it's selling a vertical at 5 and then cut, he may not see, right? So all these factors are a part of it. because we don't want to slow our kids down mentally so they can play fast. Okay, we'll show you how we teach it. And then number 5 is the attached outside linebacker. That's the guy in the tight end. So the only difference in technique, but it's a huge difference, is the attached linebacker always starts with knockback, right? Getting hands on that tight end. And then it becomes expand balance, running back 2 crosser, and if possible, cut number 1. Okay, cut number 1. So that number 6 is our 2 corners, field corner and boundary corner. Okay, ideally, we'd like them to sink under 2 and then react up. But again, if it's a speed cut, and remember, it's a 10-yard or deeper out, to them, that's Oklahoma switch, so they're going to match the out of 2. That's a possibility. Not going to hold it against them. Okay, so on one side, I'll show you that scenario. On the other side, I'll show you where they saw it, had time, and the reason they had time to sink and then react up. So it really kind of depends on how the receiver, number 1, executes the out. Okay, so I'm going to show you that on one side and then show you a different out route by number 1 on the other side. Okay, so then as far as our safeties, number 7, free and whip, it's man over 10. Number 2, man over 10. Okay, now whether or not they have help underneath from a sinking corner, we teach it, anticipate you do not have help, so you got to get on that shoulder now. You got to be within striking distance so you can make a play in the football. Okay, so another factor there would be if you got to, first of all, if the offense is running that concept, they've got to have a strong arm quarterback, or I'm not sure how they think they're going to hit the deep out, right? Especially if ball's in the hash and they're going to big field. That's a long throw. So the assumption is that it is a strong arm quarterback, so you coach up your DBs a little bit differently that week in terms of what they're looking for to recognize, whether they should be matching the out or sinking, okay? And then number 8, our inside linebackers, it's the same, right? Surface to 2. 2's not to them, so it's running back 2 or mirror the cue. Running back 2 or mirror the cue. Non-subscribers, why that's the case, push the button. So let's come over here now, okay? So I'm going to start off on the attached side, the tight end side, and I'm going to show you one way that number 1 would run the route and how that would affect the reaction of the corner. And then on the other side, the detached, I'm going to show you another way that number 1 would run the out, and again, how that would affect their corner's reaction on that side, okay? And you can figure out what they're going to do by film study, because usually the receivers aren't going to run it speed out, sell a vertical fight. They're going to do one or the other. Okay, now, because we're not talking the NFL or Alabama, FBS, right? So in film study, you'll see how receivers tend to run their outs, whether they're 5-yard outs, 10-plus yard outs, etc. Okay, so make sure you're coaching up with comments in the huddle, coaching up your DB, so when they're watching film, they're doing so wisely, and they're actually learning something about their opponent. Okay? So number 1 on this side. Now, also bear in mind, I don't have enough of a board, so the spacing's off here, right? So on number 1 on this side, he's going to execute a speed out. So it's going to be rounded, 3-step speed out. And over here, number 2, right? 10 plus. So to the corner over here, this looks like a vertical, right? So remember, gray 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 of these defenders, corner, outside linebacker, inside linebacker, and safety, are reading and reacting to this number 2. Also remember, this is not a split coverage, but it acts independently, because I'm drawing it up Ohio on both sides, but usually that's not going to be the case, right? So corner here, right? Quick zit, walk pedal, butt to boundary. Now reads the speed cut. He's going to match it because that's a vertical to him. So he's not going to be available to sink under. We know that. We teach that. That's why we coach our safeties, walk, 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 right? Plant and drive, get on top of it, man over 10. We coach our safeties. You're never going to have help. If you do, it's a bonus. Don't count on it. And so if they run a speed out, he's not going to have the help. Okay? So here, this outside linebacker, okay, because this is a speed cut. Everything starts with the knockback. We coach the daylights out of that. Teams don't like playing us because we absolutely mug tight ends. Okay? So he's in a 2-point stance. He's the only position that doesn't see any other part of the surface. His surface is the tight end because 8 technique, he's reading, reacting to the hat, but it starts with he gets a fistful of tight end and he hears pass being called by all the other defenders. So he is coached up. Hold him on as long as you can, but as soon as your hips or shoulders turn, you got to let him go so we don't get called for holding. Okay, so I'm down here with number 5 attached, so knockback. And then they automatically expand. They get their eyes to number 1. Right? 1's not coming to him. In fact, he sees the speed cut in the match. Now he balances, right? Expand, balance, and he gets his eyes on the running back. Okay, his eyes go to the running back, who, for right now, is going to be to him, but he's fitting into protection. So he will not be cutting the number 1 there. He's looking, the crosser's coming from the other side of the formation. Again, remember, I'm drawing it up on both sides, but there could be a guy buzzing across the field. Well, that's what he's looking for. Okay? And then I'm going to save both inside linebackers for last because they do the same exact thing as it relates to surface 2 and a running back. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to show you a different way for number 1 to run the out. Okay? So here, right, he kind of squares it, the old square out. So this could be anywhere, so let's say from 5 to 7 yards. So the deeper that is, so this would be anywhere from, say, 10 to 14 yards. So there's plenty of spacing. Okay? So now on this one, same thing, right? Surface, walk, pedal, butt to boundary. 2's vertical, looks like 1's vertical. Okay, so 5 to 7, he's going to bust the out. Well, now, okay, let's watch. Here, surface, expand. He could see the out, so now he's going to cut that because he can see it. And the corner's not in sight. Okay, and so now as he cuts 1, he can get his eyes back. But his first priority now is cut. Once you cut 1, that's your priority. And the reason is, in our match quarters, the goal always is make them throw to the shortest route in the entire concept, and to us, that always is the running back. So if the running back's in the pattern, that's where we want him to go. If he's not in the pattern, either way, that's where we'd want you to be. See how that works? It keeps it simple here so our players can play fast with their feet. Okay, so it's a combination of the type of route. This is this rounded speed out. This is cell vertical, right? And so here, now the corner's available, especially when he hears Ohio, Ohio, Ohio. Okay, he's available to sink and then react up. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about, and that's how you have to coach your players. So this, if he runs a cell vertical, a square out, you have the ability to sink under. If he runs a speed out, just match the out now. Don't say to your kids, don't ever do that to them, or they're going to play tentative and they're going to doubt the system. He's declaring his out now. You match it. That's a speed out. He's getting out there as fast as he can, then you match it and get out there too. Here, he's trying to sell he's going vertical and then breaking out. Well, you treat it like he's going vertical because you would be man over 10. Then you get the out. You see the out. We'd rather you sink here and make him throw there. Plus, he's taught to cut it. Ah! So now we get back to our inside linebackers. Who? Surface to 2. 2's not to them. So they pivot back, okay? In this case, running back 2, whenever he is in the protection, so this is a 6-man protection, becomes a key rush, which means he adds to the rush, and I have dashed lines because he blitzes the open gap. So if the guard's looking at him, this will help because if the quarterback is right-handed QB, the nose is taught to rush the quarterback's arm side. So then in this case, the open gap would be the B gap because he's got outside cage, you see? So the guy would be looking to help here because this would be a delay. Running back 2, mirror the cue, backs away. Mirror means to spy. He's spying the quarterback. But the mirror concept is we want him, when the quarterback looks, he's looking at you. Like he's looking at you in a mirror. That's why we use the term mirror. But yes, he is spying the quarterback. Okay? So lots of important coaching points, all designed to allow your players to be able to react and play fast. Okay? Don't put your kids in conflict ever. Teach them the 2 different kinds of short outs, a speed out and a square out, and you'll be fine, okay? So as I said at the beginning, to my subscribers, I thank you. Non-subscribers, I really hope I teased you into pushing that button. Everybody, any questions, please reach out to me at CoachMJSullivan@gmail.com, okay? I really appreciate you watching MJS coaching football, and I also like to thank YouTube for providing this platform.